Kyle Davidson has finally revealed this season's plan at the trade deadline, and we hadn't really even known what was going to be the case. He kind of left us in the dark, but we finally revealed today in an interview what his plan will be in this upcoming trade deadline. And we also have new news on Alex Vlasic and a possible long-term contract extension. So make sure to stick around for both of these major topics in Blackhawks news. But before we get into all of that, we know that 83% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to join along, get all your news from the Chicago Blackhawks right here every day, you're right in the right spot. Make sure to hit the sub button, join us along the journey, and it's a very fun season, even though it does suck, and I'm sure you're going to want to follow along for the future. So make sure to hit that sub button. But we're going to start this off with a huge bit of news here. Kyle Davidson has revealed his trade deadline plan to Charlie Roumeliotis in tonight's game. He was doing a media availability. Not sure exactly why it was during tonight's game. However, that don't matter in this case. We have some really, really big news on this topic. GM Kyle Davidson says on Jason Dickinson and Petr Mrazek's trade market, on one side, yes, they're playing very well and potentially could be valuable. And on the other side, you're trying to balance a little continuity. If we're to move on from them, those are probably players we'll be looking for in the summer. So do you just want to cut out the middle term and have them back? That's what we're going to be going through right now. Now, this is what I expected, I should say. I don't think I should say this is what we expected. This is what, I expected. I kind of discussed in a few videos here and there that it's going to be guys like Jason Dickinson. It's going to be guys like Petr Mrazek, the ones who are on an expiring deal and playing well in this offseason, or this season, excuse me. And both of those, I would say, are the top two trade baits on teams that are going to the playoffs, teams that are looking for guys to be able to help this roster going forward as we get closer to the playoffs. I'll pull up Jason Dickinson's stats here. He is having a career year. This is one guy that I think is on a lot of teams. I would say pretty much every playoffs team's radar at the moment. 14 goals in 43 games and 21 points this season. Nearly already beating, he's 9 points off his career high in points, and, with about 40 games left to go. So I think it's safe to say Jason Dickinson, if he does continue, which it looks like he is going to continue to put up this pace, he's going to be on a lot of teams' trade lists, like I said, as well as Petr Mrazek. I'll pull up Petr Mrazek's stats here as well. Petr Mrazek's had a lot of ups and downs in his career, but this year, I gotta say, he's been playing very well. There's a few games where he gets away from him, but that's kind of hard to not do with this Blackhawks team. They did not, there wasn't a solid amount of defense. There wasn't a solid amount of offense coming out of this team when at certain points due to all the injuries. And Petr Mrazek kept them in a lot of games that gave him some wins. He was responsible for a lot of this team's wins. But, the part that we got to discuss here now is Kyle Davidson saying that they're going to be open to trading them. It's going to be open if teams are interested, what they're looking for. That's going to be a big part of what's going to be on the radar for Kyle Davidson, Luke Richardson, the whole staff of the Chicago Blackhawks team. If they can get enough stuff in return, if they can get some quality stuff, not even quantity, it's going to be quality in this case for those guys, then maybe they'll think about it. But like Davidson said, these are the styles of players that they're going to be going for in free agency. Right now, the Blackhawks are in, they're not going to be signing any top talent to long-term deals just yet. They don't want to waste years in the contract. They don't want to, sign a guy to a long deal, a lot of money, and just have the team suck for the time being. They're going to wait until this team has its, foundation, and then they're going to keep on adding and adding and adding, like they did when they were on their dynasty run, years ago. And this is the smartest plan to do. Kyle Davidson is what he's planning to do is the smartest thing in my mind. They obviously have a lot of prospects, a lot of younger guys with a few veterans right now that I think they're going to be acquiring more. I would consider Jason Dickinson a veteran. He's not that old, but he's definitely been around the NHL. He's definitely one of the older players on this team. And like I said in my last video, this is what the Blackhawks are going to be doing. They need to acquire a few more veterans to help this team, help these kids along the road to be able to grow another dynasty in Chicago. And players like Jason Dickinson, Petr Mrazek, who says that, a trade to Chicago revamped his career, which it absolutely did from what we've seen this year. And Jason Dickinson putting up a career season, that's just boosting the morale from the younger guys around the team. These guys going through all types of situations in their career, letting the rookies and the younger players on his team know that there's going to be ups and downs, and that's what they're going to be, that's what they're going to be doing. But I'll pull up the contracts so you can see. Jason Dickinson, Alex Vlasic, Petr Mrazek. Alex Vlasic we'll be talking about a bit later, but we're going to be focusing on Petr Mrazek and Jason Dickinson here. 2 expiring contracts. I know the price is a bit hard to see. It's 2.65 and 3.8. So, 2 deals that I can very see that are going to be similar to what they would be re-signing, whether they do get traded or whether they don't and they sign an extension. But if they were to get traded, I think that Kyle Davidson would definitely make another effort to get these guys back in free agency. I think right now Kyle Davidson would definitely be leaning more towards trying to re-sign them rather than trade them. But like I said, if they can get a good enough deal, if they can get the quality instead of the quantity, the Blackhawks might consider it. But, right now, I can see these guys staying. And it's going to be the same, I would assume, for guys like Tyler Johnson as well. Some more guys who have that playoff experience, the NHL experience, that are going to be going to playoff teams at the deadline if they can get enough quality players, picks, prospects, something that will help this team rather than just add to it, if the best way to describe it. But, the trade deadline's nearing, and Kyle Davidson has a lot to think about. A lot of teams are getting a bit antsy to try to trade for some players, and the Blackhawks players, like I just said, starting to get better. So I think there's going to be a lot of interest, a lot of scouts going to be at these games, and it's going to be something to watch. And that's what we're going to be keeping a few updates on over the next weeks and month heading up to this trade deadline. But we also got to talk about Alex Vlasic here. Another tweet from from Charlie Roumeliotis from this media availability from Kyle Davidson discusses a possible question to if Alex Vlasic will re-sign with this team long-term, if he'll be offered a contract long-term. I'll pull up the tweet here once again from Charlie Roumeliotis. GM Kyle Davidson on whether they could explore a longer-term deal for Alex Vlasic. You definitely weigh it for sure. You want to be sure though, right? The salary cap is pretty unforgiving, so if you're going to go long-term, you want to make sure you're giving the contract that's going to work out and not hamstring you anywhere or hold you back. But he's had a great season and given us a lot of confidence in what we're going to be doing moving forward. Once again, Kyle Davidson right on the nose there. I couldn't agree more. Alex Vlasic, I think, has turned into a number 1 defenseman on this team, if not a first-pairing defenseman. And I don't see that stopping anytime soon. He's been very solid this season. On an expiring deal, like I said, once again, down there making, on his ELC. If he's 22 years old, I think this is going to be one that is going to be a very good contract when it works out to be. Like Kyle Davidson said, though, you have to make sure this contract won't tie you up going into the long run. So I think it will be a long-term contract, trying to get it as low as possible. But Kyle Davidson knows, that it could be a major risk. So I think Alex Vlasic should personally be signed long-term. I think he's shown enough what he can do. He's proven this season what he's capable of. And I think that he's deserving of a contract, and it will definitely help the Blackhawks going forward if they can make this, a 5-year deal, $3 to $4 million, like we've been seeing. Even though these are 4s, what Montreal has done with Kirby Doc, those types of players, that kind of deal where they've proven themselves, but they haven't been doing it long enough to get one of those, $6 to $7 to $8 million deal. Now the cap is also going to be going up over the next few years, going up $4 million this offseason. So even if the deal seems a bit much at the first, the initial signing of it, when he does end up signing this, there's nothing imminent yet, but this is a good sign that Alex Vlasic will be signing or be interested and be willing to sign a long-term deal with the Blackhawks. And that's one thing that I think we could really hope for. I think that's one thing that, apart from, Lukas Reichel, Connor Bedard, the bigger names on this team, I think this is the main priority in the RFA section right now is Alex Vlasic. So let me know what you think about these trades here. If you think Jason Dickinson, Petr Mrazek, Tyler Johnson, any of those guys should be traded at the deadline, whether they should be re-signed as well as your Alex Vlasic extension. Do you think this is going to be a long-term deal? Do you think this is going to be a sort of a bridge deal to see if he can continue up this momentum, prove what he's been doing and keeping this up? But, I want to hear it. You guys, the sport's been insane lately. It really has, over the last few Blackhawks videos. Blackhawks are on a 3-game losing skid, lost tonight, but, it's been fun covering this team. You're going to continue it. There's a lot of good stuff coming forward, so make sure to hit that sub button if you haven't already. But that's all I got for this video. I'm signing out. Peace.